My fiancée said her ex would always be an irreplaceable part of her life, so I ended the wedding and made sure she paid a price she'd never see coming. I'm Mark, 34. I work in operations for a mid-sized logistics company. Not the most exciting job in the world, but it keeps the lights on, pays for a decent apartment, and lets me take a trip or two every year. I like structure. Numbers add up or they don't. Trucks leave warehouses, they arrive on time. Customers stay happy. Straightforward stuff. Laura was the opposite. She ran her own corporate training business, hopping from one client to the next, leading workshops about leadership, teamwork, big picture thinking, always on the move, talking to new people, flying out to run some 2-day seminar for managers about how to maximize potential, or whatever buzzwords they liked that month. We met 3 years ago because my boss signed me up for one of those retreats. I didn't want to go. I pictured cheesy posters about teamwork, group trust falls, people pretending to be trees or something. I figured I'd stand in the back, eat the free snacks, and go home Sunday without learning a thing. Laura noticed me the first day. She was leading a group exercise, all energy and smiles, telling people to form a circle. I stayed near the coffee table, arms crossed. "You look like you're waiting for parole," she said, pointing at me. Everyone laughed. I laughed too, a little embarrassed, but it broke the ice. By the end of the weekend, she had my number. 2 weeks later, we had dinner. 6 months after that, we were booking trips on discount sites, splitting hotel breakfasts, talking about future plans. She was fun in a way I wasn't used to, confident, opinionated, could talk to anybody. At 18 months, I proposed on a rooftop in Charleston. Sunset, ring in my pocket. She cried, said yes right away, called her parents before we even left the restaurant. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the real thing. We set the wedding date for December, small ceremony, close friends and family, nothing over the top. Everything was running smooth until the engagement party. We booked a rooftop event space. Not huge, maybe 40 people. Big windows looking out over downtown. My parents flew in from Ohio. Her parents drove up from North Carolina. A few coworkers from both sides, friends from college. My buddy Mark handled music from a Bluetooth speaker in the corner. About 30 minutes in, Laura came over holding 2 drinks. "Hey," she said, like she was just mentioning the weather. "I invited David. He just texted. He's on his way." I paused halfway through a slider. "David," she nodded. "We dated in college. He's in town for work. Thought it would be nice to catch up. We're all adults here, right?" I didn't say much, just nodded. What was I supposed to do? Make a scene in front of my parents, her parents, my boss, everyone? David showed up 20 minutes later. Tall guy, nice haircut, sharp jacket, the kind of guy you picture running marathons for fun. Laura greeted him with a hug like they'd seen each other yesterday. "This is Mark," she said, turning to me. "My fiancé." He shook my hand like he was closing a deal. "Congrats, man," he said, smiling just enough. Later, someone tapped a glass with a fork. Time for speeches. A few people went first. My dad told a story about me breaking my arm at 12 trying to build a treehouse ladder from 2x4s that weren't nailed in right. Her sister talked about how excited she was for Laura to find someone steady, which got a laugh. Then David stood up. He held his glass and looked around the room like he owned the lease. "Some bonds don't fade," he said. "History matters, and to Laura, you'll always have people who care about you, no matter what." The air changed, just slightly, but it changed. A couple people glanced at me, then away. David went on for another minute about friendship lasting through the years, then raised his glass to Laura and Mark like my name was an afterthought. I kept my face neutral, clapped when everyone else clapped. Laura hugged him after, quick, light, but there was something in the way she looked at him, familiar, like they'd spoken in a language only they knew. My buddy Mark leaned over. "That was weird, right?" "Yep," I said. We cut cake, posed for photos, thanked people for coming. I kept my tone even, smiled for pictures, didn't let anything slip. But near the end, when most people had left and the caterers were clearing plates, I found Laura by the food table stacking leftover cupcakes into a box. "That toast," I said quietly. She shrugged. He was being nice. "That wasn't nice," I said. "That was him marking territory." She rolled her eyes. "Mark, come on, he's an old friend." I nodded once. "We're aligned or we're not. Decide by noon tomorrow." Her eyebrows pulled together. "Decide what?" "If he's going to be part of this," I said, "because if he is, I'm not. No yelling, no scenes, just words." I left before she could answer, got my coat, thanked her parents, walked out into the night air feeling clear-headed. At home, I texted her one word, noon. She read it, didn't reply. I brushed my teeth, set my alarm and slept fine. Not a threat, a standard. Laura didn't text me back that night. No long explanations, no "you're overreacting," nothing. When noon came around the next day, she finally sent one short message, "You're making too much out of this. David's just a friend. Let's talk later." That was it. I stared at the phone, set it face down on my desk at work and went back to answering emails. I had a routing guide update due that afternoon and wasn't about to get pulled into an argument over text, but the words kept looping in my head. Just a friend. I've got no problem with friends. I've got a problem with patterns. 2 days later, we had a call scheduled with the venue and the florist. Everything for the wedding went through a shared spreadsheet, vendor names, payment timelines, call links. I suggested we combine everything into one Zoom call to save time. Laura agreed. The call started normal. The venue rep talked about chair layouts. The florist shared photos for table arrangements. Halfway through, Laura muted herself suddenly. I saw her on camera leaning out of frame, phone at her ear. She wasn't muted for 10 seconds. It was a good 2 minutes. When she came back, she didn't explain, just smiled like nothing happened. Here's the part she didn't notice. Behind her on the bookshelf was a photo frame with glass. From my screen, I could see the reflection clear as day. The phone lit up when she pulled it away from her face. Big white text, D. Could have been anybody with that initial, but we both knew who it was. I didn't say anything. Not yet. That night, I opened the phone bill account online. I pay for her phone line through my employee discount. 2 clicks and the call logs were right there. I wasn't scrolling through messages or anything private, just timestamps, incoming and outgoing calls. 3 nights in the last week, between 1:30 and 2 to 15 a.m. Calls with the same number, always labeled wireless caller, same length, 20 to 30 minutes each. You can call your mom in the middle of the night once, maybe twice, 3 times, same number, back-to-back nights. That's not random. On Thursday, my friend Julia texted me. She and Laura used to work together before Laura started her own business. Hey, saw Laura last night at that career mixer thing. Oh yeah? She didn't mention it. She was at the side table most of the night talking to some guy. Tall brown hair, nice jacket. Thought maybe it was one of your friends. She sent a photo she'd taken of the event crowd. Not even sneaky, just a general pic she posted on her story, but clear enough. Side of the frame, Laura leaning across the table toward David, both smiling like they just shared the same joke twice. Timestamp, Tuesday night. That was the same night Laura told me she had to prep slides for a client the next morning and couldn't FaceTime. 3 points make a line. Call reflection on the vendor Zoom. Late night calls on the bill. Career mixer photo with matching timestamp. I wrote them down on a sticky note at my desk like I was logging inventory. Transparency, priority, clean exits. That's all I want in a relationship. You talk straight, you make the person you're with a priority over people you used to date, and you close the door on old relationships before starting new ones. Laura knew this. We talked about it once early on when my ex texted me out of nowhere. I told her right away, didn't answer until Laura read the message herself. She said she appreciated the honesty, said that's how she operated too. Apparently not. Friday night I looked at the calendar. We had no plans Saturday morning. She was supposed to meet some friend for lunch around 1. That gave us a window. I texted her, come by my place tomorrow morning. Bring your calendar. We're going through it. She wrote back a few minutes later, why? What's going on? I didn't answer right away. Finished my grocery run first, picked up chicken, rice, some vegetables for the week. When I got home, I finally typed back, we need to line things up, calls, meetings, everything. Make sure there's nothing slipping through the cracks. Not technically a lie. There was something slipping through the cracks, just not wedding planning. I wasn't angry. Anger clouds things up. I was looking at it the way I'd look at a broken shipping route at work. Step back, check the data, see where it's leaking. People love to say trust your gut. I like numbers, timestamps, screenshots, names on spreadsheets. If it's nothing, it sure looks a lot like something. Saturday morning, she showed up right on time. Hair pulled back, laptop bag over her shoulder. You're acting weird, she said, walking in. We'll see, I said. I set the kitchen table with my laptop open, her calendar pulled up on the shared doc sticky note with my 3 words next to it. Laura set her laptop on the table like we were about to go over tax forms. My apartment was quiet except for the sound of her chair scraping the floor. 2 mugs sat between us, coffee for me, tea for her. The sticky note with my 3 words was still next to my laptop from last night. All right, she said, opening her calendar. What's this about? I turned my laptop so she could see the screen. 3 things, I said. Transparency, priority, clean exits. She raised an eyebrow. Sounds dramatic already. It's not, I said. It's basic. We're supposed to get married in December. That means we plan a life together, not 3 overlapping ones. She leaned back in the chair, arms crossed. If this is about David, it is, I said, cutting her off. I'm not guessing here. Vendor call Tuesday. You muted yourself mid-meeting for 2 minutes. Reflection, the photo frame showed you on the phone. Same night, phone bill shows a 25-minute call after 1 in the morning. Tuesday, career mixer photo with him while you told me you were working on slides. Her mouth opened, then shut. Finally, she said, he's a friend going through stuff. I was helping him. That's fine, I said, keeping my voice even. Help him after you tell him you're engaged. Did you? She didn't answer right away, picked up her tea, set it back down without drinking. Did you tell him? I repeated. She looked at her laptop screen like it held the answer. It hasn't come up, she said finally. I nodded once, writing a small no on the sticky note under the words transparency, priority, clean exits. Mark, you're making this into some big conspiracy, she said. He's been in my life since college. He's going through a breakup. He needed someone to talk to, so I was there. That's all it is. I pointed at the sticky note. I don't partner with divided attention. If I'm in, I'm all in. I expect the same. Her arms tightened across her chest. You're trying to control who I talk to. No, I said. I'm controlling me. If you want him in your daily life more than me, then be honest about it, and I'll make my own choices. But I won't stand in line behind some other guy for your attention. That's not a partnership. She shook her head like I was missing the point. You're acting like there's some competition. There isn't, I said. There is, I corrected flatly. You just don't want to name it. For a second she didn't say anything, scrolled aimlessly on her calendar, then closed the laptop. You think if I stop talking to him suddenly, that doesn't make me look crazy? She asked. You think being engaged to someone who doesn't tell another guy about it doesn't make me look crazy? I shot back. She flinched like I'd thrown something. It's not like that. Feels exactly like that, I said. We sat there in silence for a few seconds. Outside my window, somebody walked a dog past the building. I could hear the faint bark through the glass. Finally, she said, So what now? You want me to delete him from my life? I shook her head. I want you to decide what life you're building. If I'm in it, I'm not sharing space with old relationships that still act like current ones. If you can't or won't step back from him, then we part as adults before lawyers and leases get involved. That landed. I could see it in the way her jaw tightened. You'd really end this over a few phone calls? She asked. No, I said. I'd end it because you had a chance right now to make this clear and you didn't. She grabbed her bag, shoving the laptop inside harder than she needed to. This is insane, she said, standing. No, I said, staying seated. It's a standard. Big difference. She glared down at me. You're overreacting. I looked back at her evenly. You're under-choosing. That shut her up for a second. She finally said, I'm not giving you some ultimatum about who you can talk to. Good, I said. Neither am I. I'm just telling you what I will and won't be part of. If that sounds like an ultimatum, maybe that tells you something. She stood there like she wanted to argue more, but her hand was already on the doorknob. You need time to think, I said. She didn't answer, just left, the door closing louder than necessary. Monday morning, I made coffee, opened my laptop, and started lining things up. No delays. First call was the venue. We need to cancel the booking and release the date, I told the coordinator. If plans change, I'll follow up. She sounded disappointed but professional. You'll lose the small deposit, but the rest is fine. That's expected, I said. Thanks for your help. Florist call next. Same message, then photographer. By end of day, the venue kept its deposit. The florist and photographer refunded in full. No drama, just facts. I kept screenshots of every confirmation email in a wedding folder on my desktop, labeling each by date and vendor name. After the calls, I headed to the bank on my lunch break. We had a small joint account set up for wedding expenses. Nothing big, just a place to collect what each of us pitched in monthly for deposits and payments. I withdrew the exact amount I'd contributed and left the rest. Joint accounts let either sign or draw. The teller printed the balance, processed the withdrawal, and handed me a receipt. I asked for everything in writing: dates, amounts, account number. Back at the office, I scanned the receipt and the balance printout into a PDF and emailed it to myself, labeled the file weddingaccountclosure.pdf, paper trail complete. Next was the email to Laura, subject next steps, attached boundary.pdf. Laura, I've paused vendor deposits for now. Attached is a short boundary agreement, so expectations are clear on both sides. If you want to meet to return the ring or discuss next steps, we can set a time. Otherwise, please keep communication direct between us only, no third parties. Thanks. I attached the one-page PDF I wrote Saturday. No extra commentary, no accusations. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Work number, my boss, Kelly. Hey, Mark, she said, voice cautious. Everything okay? Sure, I said. Why? Got a message from a client this morning, said Laura reached out. Mentioned you might be under stress. I closed my eyes for half a second. Personal situation, I said. Handled outside work. Won't affect deliverables. Kelly hesitated. You sure? Check the dashboard, I said. Routing guide changes go live Friday. On time and dwell numbers already look solid. She exhaled through the phone. Okay, just wanted to make sure you're not drowning. I'm fine, I said. Thanks for asking. That week I kept my head down and rolled out the routing guide revamp on schedule. The client loved it. On-time performance jumped within 48 hours. Kelly forwarded me their email. Best service levels we've seen this quarter. Tell Mark, great job. I didn't forward that one to Laura. Wednesday morning I got an email from an unfamiliar address. Subject, coffee. Hey Mark, this is David. I think we should talk. Laura looped me into something about the wedding, but it wasn't clear. Are you free for a quick conversation? I read it twice. Laura hadn't mentioned looping him into anything. Of course she hadn't. The D reflected in the frame hadn't been random. I typed back, 10 minutes, neutral spot. Noon Friday, coffee shop lobby on 5th and Main. He replied 3 minutes later, see you then. That Friday before the meeting, I closed out the last few wedding tasks on my end. Venue, florist, photographer, all confirmed, cancellations processed, bank account closed, receipts saved, boundary agreements sent, read, no response yet. Everything documented, no loose ends. At 11:50, I left the office and walked to the coffee shop lobby. It wasn't one of those cozy places with indie music and dim lights. This was a downtown spot in a bank building with high ceilings, marble floors, and constant foot traffic. I picked it on purpose, public enough for zero weirdness. David was already there, standing near the entrance, checking his watch. Mark? He asked when I walked up. Yeah, I said. 10 minutes. Let's grab a table. We sat by the window. People came and went behind us. Office workers, delivery guys, a couple students with laptops. Look, he said, leaning forward. I didn't know about the engagement until recently. Laura made it sound like things were fine between you two. I nodded. She didn't tell you? No, he said. I found out when she started canceling things, mentioned deposits, dates, then stopped replying to me altogether. That's why I emailed you. I watched him for a second. He looked tired, not guilty exactly, more like someone realizing they'd been used as a chess piece. Here's the thing, I said. I'm not mad at you, but we're 2 data points now. If she hid me from you or you from me, that's the only metric that matters. He frowned. Data points? Shows a pattern, I said simply. He didn't argue, just sat back processing. Are you two done? He asked finally. That depends on her, I said. But I'm not waiting around while she keeps multiple storylines running. He nodded slowly. Looked like he wanted to say more but couldn't find the words. I stood, checked my watch. That's 10, I said. David stayed seated as I walked out. Back at the office, Kelly passed my desk holding a printout of the service metrics. Best on time all quarter, she said, grinning. Glad to hear it, I said. No one needed to know that while my personal life was unraveling, work stayed buttoned up, everything documented, everything delivered. David stayed seated when I left the coffee shop lobby. I didn't stick around for extra conversation. 10 minutes was enough. Outside, the air felt cold against my face, sharp wind coming off the street. I walked back toward my office, checking my watch, 11:59, on time. At my desk, I wrote a few notes in a simple text file. David didn't know about engagement. Laura canceled things, then went silent on him. Pattern confirmed, parallel conversations, separate stories, data points collected. No guessing now. The next morning, messages started popping up from people I knew. Hey Mark, just checking in. Everything okay? One coworker wrote on Slack. Another emailed me. Laura stopped by the office lobby yesterday, said you two were working through some stuff. She was moving fast, reaching out to people who had nothing to do with this. I scrolled back through my inbox. One message from a vendor. Laura mentioned delays on your side. Is the wedding still on? Nothing nasty yet, but the smell of smoke before the fire. I drafted one short email, sent it to my entire team, CC'd my manager Kelly. Subject, quick personal note. Hi everyone. Just to clarify something, Laura and I have ended our engagement. She may reach out to people here, but this is a personal matter and doesn't involve work. Please direct any questions back to me and don't pass along messages on either side. Thanks for understanding. 4 sentences, no details, no drama. Responses came in quietly over the next hour. Got it. Hope you're doing okay. Understood. Appreciate the heads up. One coworker, Jake, stopped by my desk later with a coffee, set it down without a word, then said, Good boundary, man. That was it. No gossip, no whispers. People respected clear lines. The rest of the week stayed calm. I hit the gym after work every night. Squats, rows, nothing fancy, home by 8, chicken and rice on the stove, next day's meals in containers before bed. Phone stayed face down on the counter except for work calls. Laura texted twice. We need to talk. I didn't answer. At least hear me out. Still nothing. Friday night she sent another one. Closure. That's all I want. 10 minutes. Public place, please. I waited until morning before replying. Daytime cafe, your choice. Public. Keep it short. She responded right away. Tomorrow 2 p.m. Tally's Coffee on Main. Fine by me. Sunday I walked into Tally's at 1:59. Bright place, big windows, smells of roasted beans and sugar from the pastry case. Families with kids at 2 tables. College students with laptops near the wall outlets. An older couple sharing a muffin by the door. Laura was already there, sitting at a corner table. No makeup this time, hair pulled back, hands wrapped around a mug like she needed the heat. Thanks for coming, she said. 10 minutes, I said. Go ahead. She looked down at her mug before speaking. I don't like how things ended. We didn't really talk about any of it. We did, I said. You just didn't like what you heard. She flinched slightly, then shook her head. You think I was hiding things? I wasn't. You didn't tell him about the engagement. It hadn't come up. I kept my face neutral. That's worse, Laura. Talking to him daily, seeing him in person, midnight calls, and it never comes up that you're engaged. That tells me exactly where I rank. She pressed her lips together. No answer ready. After a moment, she tried again. You think there was something going on? There wasn't. I leaned back in the chair. It doesn't matter. I don't compete with the past. You had a chance to make this clear and you didn't. That's all I need to know. She sighed, staring out the window at the traffic moving past. I made mistakes, she said finally. So did I said. I assumed we were building the same future. Turns out we weren't. She looked like she wanted to argue more, but the cafe was full. Kids laughing near the pastry case, people walking in and out. Public space meant no raised voices, no scenes. Finally, she said, so that's it? I nodded. That's it. I stood. Take care of yourself, Laura. She stayed seated, watching me leave through the glass door. That week stayed quiet. No texts, no calls, no messages through friends. For the first time in months, no fires to put out. I went to work, hit the gym, cooked my meals, slept through the night without checking my phone at 2 a.m. One evening, Jake from work said, "You seem lighter lately." I just shrugged. Peace feels weird after noise. On Friday afternoon, a message popped up on my phone. Unknown number. She'd switched numbers after I stopped replying. Need to talk. Last time, I promise, please. I stared at it for a second. Public place, I replied. That's the rule. She sent back the name of another cafe. Saturday, noon. I didn't answer right away. The week had been good, quiet, steady, normal. Meeting again might wreck that, but part of me wanted it done completely. No questions left. Saturday noon, second cafe in 2 weeks. I arrived on time. Laura was already there. Hair neat, makeup light, 2 mugs on the table. Thanks for coming, she said. I sat. This is it, last one. She nodded quickly, like she'd been rehearsing something in her head. Okay. Before she could start, I said, stop contacting my coworkers, my family, my friends. If it continues, I'll file a formal complaint, document everything, make it public record if I have to. Her mouth opened, then shut. She blinked a few times, like she hadn't expected me to go straight there. I wasn't trying to cause problems, she said finally. We had something special. I kept my voice even. Feelings aren't the proof, priority is the proof. She stared at the table. For a moment, I thought she might argue, but instead she nodded slowly, eyes glassy. I get it, she whispered. I stood. Good. Then we're done here. Her mouth trembled like she wanted to say something else, but I was already walking out the door. 3 weeks passed, quiet ones. Work stayed busy, gym routine stayed steady, no texts, no surprise calls, no third-hand messages from mutual friends. Then one afternoon, a cream-colored envelope landed in my mailbox. Laura's handwriting on the front. Inside, a formal wedding invitation. Laura Mitchell and David Green request the honor of your presence, December 18th. That was the date we had booked originally. Tucked behind the printed card was a short handwritten note. Mark, I know this might feel strange. I realized what really matters after everything that happened. I hope you understand. Wishing you the best always. Laura. I read it twice, set it on the counter, then slid both the invite and the note into a manila folder labeled Laura. Same folder with the vendor receipts, boundary letter, bank documents. Not the trash, not the fridge, just filed away. Grown-up move. December rolled in cold and windy. Holiday lights went up around the city, store windows filled with fake snow and blinking strands. On the 18th, I worked late, no plans that evening. The date didn't stick out in my mind until around 8 when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, same one I never saved. It should have been you. Please come. Room 1542, Plaza Hotel. I read it twice. Second message came 30 seconds later. I walked out before the vows. I need to see you. I didn't answer right away. Sat there at my desk while the office cleared out. People heading to dinners, drinks, holiday events. Another message, please. 10 minutes. That's all I'm asking. At home, I pulled the small jewelry box out of my dresser. The ring sat inside exactly where I left it after the vendors months ago. I dropped it into a clear zip bag, slipped it into my jacket pocket. Not for romance, just to end this clean. The Plaza Hotel lobby glowed with white lights and gold trim. Huge Christmas tree in the center, couples taking photos near the fountain. I walked straight to the elevators. No hesitation. 15th floor, room 1542. She opened the door almost immediately, like she'd been standing right behind it. Hairstyle but falling apart now. Makeup smudged around her eyes, wedding dress gone, just a white robe tied at the waist. You came, she said, voice small. I nodded once, stepped inside, but stayed near the door. She closed it softly, turned toward me, hands twisting the robe belt. I couldn't do it, she said. I got to the aisle and my chest locked up. I kept thinking about you. I didn't answer. I made a mistake, she went on. It was supposed to be you. It's always been you. Her eyes searched my face, waiting for something, some opening. I pulled the small zip bag from my pocket, held it out. The ring glinted under the lamp near the bed. You don't choose me, I said. You orbit me. I'm not a planet. She stared at the bag like it was a knife. Mark, please, she whispered. We can start over. Wipe the slate clean. This time I know what I want. I shook my head once. No speeches, no maybe. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. She reached out as if to grab my hand, but I set the bag gently on the dresser instead. Her eyes filled, but I kept my face steady. I came here so you wouldn't rewrite this later, I said. So you wouldn't tell people I never gave you closure. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I stepped back toward the door. You wanted 10 minutes, I said. That was 10. Her voice cracked behind me. So that's it? That's it, I said. I opened the door, stepped into the hallway, and pulled it shut behind me. No extra speeches, no looking back, just the soft click of the latch ending it for good. 3 months later, the city felt different. Early spring does that. Gray streets warming up, trees sprouting pale green, people ditching heavy coats for lighter ones. I'd taken a promotion in February. More travel, bigger projects, my own team instead of reporting under someone else. The kind of role I used to think belonged to people who wore suits every day. Turns out it mostly belonged to people who stayed organized and answered emails on time. I was mentoring Sam, one of the new hires, fresh out of college, smart but jittery, always second-guessing himself before sending client operations reports. Watching him reminded me of my first year here, sweating over tiny mistakes no one else noticed. Now I could catch those mistakes before they left his screen. Send him back with a quick fix this. Watch him nod like it was the end of the world, then see him relax once the client praised the final version. Stop rewriting sentences 3 times, I told him once. Clarity beats cleverness every time. He grinned like I'd given him a cheat code. My own life stayed simple. Work during the week, gym most nights, trail runs on Saturdays with Mark and another buddy Aaron. We picked the same park every weekend, 5 miles through dirt paths and hills that left your legs burning. No one talked much during the runs, just the steady sound of shoes on gravel, breathing in rhythm. Afterward, we'd stretch near the parking lot, exchange short plans for the week, then split off to our cars. Sleep came easier now. No late-night calls, no buzzing phone lighting up the room at 2 a.m. I cooked real meals again instead of grabbing takeout between errands. Chicken, rice, vegetables, sometimes pasta if I felt ambitious. My fridge looked like an adult lived here instead of someone surviving on coffee and vending machines. By March, I was seeing Rachel regularly. We met through work friends. She handled marketing at a shipper whose distribution my company runs. First coffee turned into dinner the next week, then a movie, then walking through the park one chilly Sunday afternoon when half the trees still looked dead from winter. She didn't ask about Laura right away. When it finally came up, I gave her the short version. Engagement ended, different priorities, no drama left to rehash. Rachel nodded, didn't push for details. We kept things easy, no big promises, no rushing toward anything. Feels normal, I told Mark once when he asked how it was going. That's good, he said. Normal's underrated. Through mutual friends, I heard Laura had moved. Chicago, someone said, new job, new apartment, fresh start. No one mentioned David, I didn't ask. When people brought her up, I just nodded and changed the subject. Wishing someone well doesn't always need words attached to it. Work picked up speed in April. More travel like they promised. 2 days in Dallas for a quarterly business review. 3 days in Denver training a new regional terminal on our transportation management system. Sam came along to the Denver trip, nervous about presenting his first demo. He did fine. Better than fine, actually. On the flight back, he admitted he hadn't slept the night before, kept imagining every possible thing going wrong. Nothing did, I pointed out. Yeah, he said, grinning tiredly. Guess you were right about clarity. The next weekend, I ran the trail with Mark and Aaron again. Sky bright blue, air just warm enough for short sleeves. I pushed harder than usual on the last hill, legs burning by the time I hit the parking lot. Mark slapped my shoulder. Trying to kill yourself? Testing the engine, I said, catching my breath. Truth was, it felt good to be tired for reasons that had nothing to do with stress. Sunday evening, I walked downtown to meet Rachel for dinner. On the way, I passed a woman near the bookstore who looked almost exactly like Laura from behind. Same hair color, same way of walking, like she knew exactly where she was headed. For half a second, my chest tightened. Then she turned when someone called a different name, face totally unfamiliar, and just like that, nothing. No rush of old memories, no weight dropping into my stomach, just another stranger on the street. At the restaurant, Rachel was already at a table near the window, menu in hand. Hey, she said, smiling when I sat down. Long run today? 5 miles, I said. Hills hurt. She laughed. Sounds miserable. Builds character. We ordered pasta, split an appetizer, traded stories about our weeks. Hers involved a marketing campaign launch. Mine involved Sam accidentally emailing a draft proposal to the client before I reviewed it, then panicking until the client said they liked it as is. He's learning, I said. Trial by fire, she said. Halfway through dinner, my phone buzzed on the table. Text from Mark. Running next Saturday, same time? I typed back, yeah, maybe add another mile. Rachel raised an eyebrow. Another mile? Testing the engine, I said again. She shook her head, smiling like she wasn't sure if I was kidding. After dinner, we walked a few blocks under streetlights, warming the sidewalks with yellow glow. Busy week ahead? She asked. Couple client calls. 1 site visit Thursday, I said. Nothing crazy. She nodded, tucking her hands into her jacket pockets. Next weekend, I said. Let's try that new Thai place you mentioned. Deal, she said. Back at my apartment, I dropped my keys on the counter, set my running shoes near the door for tomorrow's gym session, and filed one last receipt from the Denver trip into my work folder. Next to it sat the manila folder labeled Laura. I slid it into the bottom drawer with old tax returns and appliance manuals. Not hidden, not displayed, just stored. History belongs in a drawer, not in the living room. It doesn't get a spare key.